I'm pleading, anyone out there, please, anybody, somewhere, somehow, might know where my sister whereabouts is. Please bring her home.
That was the sister and brother-in-law of missing person Maya Millete, also known as May. And I got to tell you, I look into a lot of cases, and for this one only being a month, just a little over a month old, they are two extremely hardworking people. They are pressing on all fronts with media, with searches. I can't imagine when they even have time to rest with all the work that I see that they're doing. I think it's time that they get some help. I think it's time that we turn on the searchlight. Welcome back to Brainscratch Searchlight. I'm John Lorden. Thank you for caring about these cases like I do. Let's go through the information, see what we can figure out, and really try to figure out how we can help this family that's already working so hard to find their missing loved one. Starting with NamUs. Thankfully, we already have a NamUs profile. It's not always common to have a NamUs profile built so quickly. The date of last contact for Maya is January 7th, 2021. She's missing from Chula Vista, California. She is 39 years old. For the basic information here, she is a female standing at 5 foot 2 inches tall, Asian. Weight, I'm seeing some places say 105. This one has it listed as 110. For the last known location, it's her home. And I know that always gives me a cause for concern right off the bat. We're going to try to get into the details there and see what we can make out of that. For the circumstances of disappearance here at NamUs, not a whole lot, unfortunately. Maya Millete was last seen on January 7th at her residence in Chula Vista, California. Her whereabouts are unknown. Her vehicles are at her residence. This is another one of those cases, unfortunately, where it seems like the normal conventions that people would use for taking care of themselves, staying in touch, some of those elements are seemingly not in play. We've got a credit card that's with her not being used. We've got a cell phone that's missing, also not being used. Her leaving her vehicles behind. Is there some reasonable ideas about where she might have gone without her vehicle? Yes, and we're definitely going to get to that. Brown, long hair, brown eyes. Also a tattoo of musical notes on her right chest or shoulder, a hummingbird on her back, and a symbol on her inner wrist. I didn't see pictures of the hummingbird or the symbol, but in this photo that I'm going to bring up right now, you can see the musical notes. Let's start by learning where this has taken place over at Wikipedia. Chula Vista, California. Chula Vista is Spanish for beautiful view. It's the second largest city in the San Diego metropolitan area. The estimated population as of 2019 is over 274,000 people. Now, think about having a missing loved one in a population like that and trying to raise exposure. That is a big, big task. I'm thankful that a lot of the local media really seems to be trying to help on that front. Also, gives us a good shot that maybe one of those people has some information that can help this case. Located about halfway or 7.5 miles between the two downtowns of San Diego and Tijuana in the South Bay, the city is at the center of one of the richest culturally diverse zones in the United States. Chula Vista is so named because of its scenic location between the San Diego Bay and coastal mountain foothills. Now, from what I understand about Maya, just learning about her through preparing for today, this is someone that was probably taking really good advantage of being in an area like that. She's someone that likes to hike. She's outdoorsy. But that's also part of what plays into the mystery of her missing. Is this something as simple as she went off for a hike and something occurred? Let's continue here and see if we can figure that out. On top of being someone that loves the outdoors, loves music, Maya also is a civilian working for a local naval base and a mother of 3. She's got a 4-year-old son, a 9-year-old daughter, and an 11-year-old daughter. Of course, when you hear that someone's gone missing from home, we know a lot of suspicion is going to be pointed towards the husband. And here is a picture of her husband, Larry. Larry has done a few interviews. We're going to talk about those as we go on, but we're going to start by hearing some of his insight into what he's dealing with in terms of her disappearance right now.
My son was trying to roll over, trying to, look for his mom, but it wasn't his mom. It was just me this time. So I know he's having kind of dreams about it.
Now, what's the story for actual disappearance? What's the timeline? What are the details? We don't have a very solid timeline from what I can see. Putting some of the pieces of the puzzle together, there's a family trip that happened on New Year's Eve. That's going to come into play a little bit as we get into some details later. But the week of January 7th seems like things might have been rough between Maya and Larry. They were arguing on that Thursday. There's some type of argument, and according to Larry, she locks herself in her room. Now, the sense that I'm getting is that their relationship was kind of in a strange space. I don't know if they were even sleeping in the same room at this point. So she locks herself in the room. Her family becomes concerned because they're supposed to be getting some plans together for her daughter's birthday that's coming up that weekend. They're planning on going snowboarding. And all of a sudden, Maya just stops communicating. So I believe a brother comes over on Friday and asks Larry, where is she? And Larry says, well, she's locked up in her room. The brother goes and knocks on the door, and there's no answer. And he kind of assumes, okay, she wants to be left alone. By Saturday, the family's getting really concerned. Her father comes over to try to figure out what's going on. Once again, Larry's saying she's still in there. Larry does say he thinks that he heard her on Friday, possibly preparing something in the kitchen. I don't know how big this house is, but it seems like the story that we're being told is it's big enough that he kind of could be in his corner of it and she could be in her corner of it, and they wouldn't have to interact a whole lot. I'm kind of curious about that just when you have 3 children of that age also in the mix with that. But so on Saturday, the father goes over. Larry gets a key to unlock her door, opens up her door, and they find that she's not in the room. And I know a bunch of you are already feeling, okay, something's really wrong in this. And there's a lot of suspicion, a lot of eyes looking towards Larry. I totally understand that. I do want to remind us, I've covered stories like this before. We've had people coming off of fights that go missing, and it looks very obvious, especially when you see the media kind of focus on it in a particular way. And sometimes we get surprised. We have had that happen on the channel before. So I'm trying to remain open to all possibilities as we're going through this. It's a little tough because as you're going to see media very focused on that particular aspect, I'm seeing some people on some coverage where they're almost being cynical about the possibilities with this case. I ask that you just try to stay open as we're getting through all this. Wait till we get to the end of it, and then maybe we can come to some conclusion at that point. But it's going to be tough. There's a lot of, we're covering this on Searchlight for a reason. We still don't have the answers in this case. Jumping over to 10news.com, family searching for missing Chula Vista mother. Maya Millete was last seen at her Chula Vista home. Her brother-in-law, Richard Juliet, says the family knew something was wrong when she stopped answering calls. We had big plans for Big Bear, and she never replied. Millete works as a contract specialist for Naval Base in San Diego. Chula Vista Police have interviewed her husband, who is her high school sweetheart. They've been together for over 20 years at this point. He last saw her at home on Thursday. Detectives say the couple had marital problems, but at this point, they have no leads or indication of foul play. Continuing on to NBC San Diego. Search party scheduled. And this is what I'm talking about. Like, we're only a couple of days away from, she's last seen the 7th, but the family's still checking on her through the 8th through the 9th. I think late on the 9th is when the authorities are notified about it. And then on the 10th, I think, is when the authorities actually come and kind of start their process. So we've got a few days. We're kind of behind the ball already. But just 2 days after that, all of a sudden, we've got a search party scheduled, and not just a few people getting together. You might be able to see through the screenshot here. We've got like 100 people that get together to try to help on this right off the bat. Her Chula Vista home near San Miguel Ranch area is where this is going on. Let's jump to the map so you get a little bit of a sense of what we're talking about. And I'm a little familiar, been out in this area a few times in my life. I can say very dry in general. And you can kind of see that, especially from the hills here. A lot of dry brush in this type of area. You can see there's crazy trails that are all going through this. And we know that that's something that she does do on occasion. So she lives in this neighborhood close to Mount St. Miguel Park. So one of the thoughts that's coming out fairly quickly is, hey, we know that she likes to go on hikes and stuff like that. Maybe after this fight, she just wanted to go cool off. Did she go to some local trail? Is there some type of accident situation? And we need to find her. And that's where it seems like the search parties mobilize right off the bat. While we're here, I'm just curious about water sources in this area. We do have, there is a lake down here, Lower Otay Lake, and I'm kind of curious about this water source that's closer to the home, Sweetwater Reservoir. I haven't seen any information about water searches being done out here at all. And this one from the satellite view looks kind of significant and fairly close to the home. I'd be really curious if there wasn't some type of thought on the investigator's side that, hey, maybe we need to do a side sonar search or something in that area. But let's get back to the article. Family and friends said her car is still at her home, and her phone has been going to voicemail since her disappearance. Hospitals, jails, and morgues have been contacted. She hasn't been found at any of those locations. Her relatives and family will be conducting a search party. They also plan to meet on Friday to conduct another search. And I'm telling you, they're hitting it so hard. We're going to see through all the efforts they're doing. It seems like I think they're averaging about a major event like this a week, working extremely hard. Chula Vista Police said the department created a missing persons case for Millete and have a detective working to find her. Back to another article over at 10news.com. Husband fears for missing Chula Vista wife and mom of 3. Maya and Larry Millete are high school sweethearts, married for 21 years with 3 children, ages 4, 9, and 11. We had problems this year. Ups and downs, Millete told ABC 10 News. He said his wife has left before for the night to blow off steam, but he became worried when she didn't show up for their daughter's birthday on Sunday. There is an interview here. I'm actually going to have a link to this in the description box below. It's about 10 minutes long. It's just him being interviewed. It doesn't sound like there's a whole lot of editing that's going on in it. I can tell you some of the newscasts that I've seen, they're chopping up pieces of this interview. If you're really interested in this case and want to get a better understanding of it, I think you should listen to the whole thing for yourself. Quote, I text her. I don't know if she's getting it. I say, hey, babe, at least let us know or call someone, he said. Her Jeep, which she would take to meetups with other Jeep owners, is still at home. That's another thing I kind of touched on, motorsports. Apparently, she likes to go four-buying with her Jeep and dirt biking as well. If she didn't have her car, a friend would have to pick her up. That's the only reason I was like, maybe she's wine tasting or hiking with a friend, says Millete. And he's referring to one of the things that he mentions in that interview. He's kind of theorizing on different things that she could be doing. Thinks that she might be wine tasting in Temecula, but missing her daughter's birthday. I mean, we get to a point of concern very, very quickly, just a matter of a day or two. The other thing is, I've heard him ask about these periods of time where she would disappear and need to cool down. And he's very specific that it would never really go over a day. And as a matter of fact, the way he phrases it kind of makes it sound like most of the time, maybe she would go out and hang out with a friend until, 2 o'clock in the morning or 3 o'clock in the morning and then come home. So already when you get to Saturday, we're in a range of something pretty strange going on, even with the assumption that he thinks he might have heard her at home on Friday. I don't know. There's a lot of really tough considerations in this case. Another quote from him, I called her boss. She didn't even log in. And that's the other alarming part, because work for her is like a party. That's her outlet, he says. So yeah, by Monday, of course, her work becomes concerned because she's not there. Continuing at PhilippineLifestyle.com, we get some information from her sister, Mary Chris. The room was locked, but when my brother knocked on the door, she was responding and it was locked. But when my brother knocked on the door, she was responding and it was locked. It sounds like the brother actually confirms that he heard something in there too. My brother thought she probably just wanted to be left alone, said Mary Chris. The whole day of Friday, we didn't hear anything from her, and then Saturday also. So I told my dad to go check on her, to open the door. She wasn't there. They had that family trip. That family trip was supposed to be on Sunday. That was the trip to Big Bear for the skiing for her daughter's birthday. And her sister's pointing out it's not like her at all to miss her daughter's 11th birthday. It turns out that Millete has not used her credit card. Her credit card and her ID and her cell phone are what seem to be missing. Her friends also have no information on where she went. Millete's husband is in contact with the police. And that's another aspect here. I know when we look at cases like this and we start wondering about what's going on in the home, we hear that there's an argument or something like that. In a lot of these cases, you'll see the husband doesn't really interact with the police, doesn't help with the search efforts. Here, we're hearing pretty straight up, he's in contact with the police. We're getting an extended kind of interview with him in the press. That's also somewhat rare for these cases where we think, it might be an intimate partner that's responsible for the disappearance in some way. Her sister states she likes riding with her motorcycle. She loves going out off-roading. She has a Jeep. She loves the outdoors. The children are doing okay right now. They really haven't grasped the whole situation yet. And keep in mind, this is like, I think a week. Yeah, about a week since she's been missing. Chula Vista Police said that they have no evidence of a crime. And the husband is fully cooperating. Investigators currently are treating the woman's disappearance as a missing persons case. Other things in terms of cooperating, in his interview, he mentions that the police wanted to look in the house and he actually let them in. That's not the same as, like a forensic search of the house, but at least they had a look around in the house. There was nothing obvious. I believe he also let them analyze his cell phone. My sister is a very strong woman. She wouldn't do anything to harm herself, especially thinking about the kids. The kids, they're very small. She's not likely to leave her kids that way. So, of course, another very important consideration in a case like this. Was she depressed to the point of wanting to not be around anymore? And her sister's being pretty straightforward here. It doesn't seem like that was in her character. An effort was underway to find surveillance video from neighboring homes. Really, really glad to hear that. But so far, no video evidence has been located, according to the sister. Something else that you'll hear mention of in the interview, her husband touches a little bit on, it almost sounds like he's trying to say that one of the neighbors has some footage they think might be her, but it's in the middle of the night and they can't be very conclusive about it. The official word that I'm seeing through the articles is there is no footage that's been found, at least that law enforcement has been open with to the media. So the San Diego Tribune is where we're continuing. Volunteers search different areas of Mount St. Miguel Park for any sign of Maya May Millete. More than 100 people searched. I wish I could thank all of those people personally right now. If any of you that are watching this are one of those people, thank you. Thank you for rallying around this family in that way. They can't do it on their own. We are still handling this as a missing person, said Chula Vista Police Lieutenant Miriam Fox. We've talked to the husband. We've talked to the family. The husband has been fully cooperative with us. We are handling it as a missing person because there's been no indication of foul play. Fox said police did not participate in Wednesday's search. I was a little curious when I first read that, because I don't know why they wouldn't necessarily search that area in particular, or at least just have a couple of representatives on hand to help with maybe some tips or let the searchers know about the do's and don'ts. I'm a little curious that they didn't have anyone out there. But then she makes this statement: we're kind of limited. We don't have much. So I don't know if she's talking about resources or if she's talking about information. It could be that she's talking about they don't have leads that are strong enough to lead them to actually be searching in that area. And that's where I'm a little unsure about it, because it seems logical for someone that is known to be a hiker, lives that close to hiking trails like that, in a dispute at home, in an argument, maybe wanting to cool off. Kind of sounds like something that's a strong possibility. But she continues, it is a really sad situation. I'm going to have another link. There's a whole section of video links down below, and I believe it's at the top of that list is a press conference that was held by the local police department on this. The Chula Vista PD includes the chief, includes the mayor. I wish I saw such good coordination, and I think it was actually the family that helped prompt that press conference to happen in that way. Once again, it's their efforts that are kind of asking for this attention, keeping the focus raised. But that press conference I thought was so well handled, and I think it's a great example of how other departments might want to look and respond in cases like this as well. Fox5sandiego.com is where we're heading next. At the same time, her husband Larry, so at the same time of the search, Larry and the 3 kids stayed in the family home just up the street. So the search effort is being coordinated from the parking lot of that park, and their home is literally, I don't think it's more than a block or maybe like a block and a half from that park. Larry, 3 young kids to take care of, somewhat understandable to me that maybe he can't make each and every one of these events. I'm curious, isn't there someone else maybe that could watch the kids while he goes out there to help or something like that? But I'm just kind of giving you the thoughts as we're hitting the info. I'm trying to keep everything as normal as I can for the kids, he told Fox 5 over the phone. I know to them it seems like everything is fine, but I know it's impacting them a little bit. Chula Vista police say that they've never been called to the family's home before, so we don't have any prior history, and have no reason to believe a crime has been committed. Additionally, they say Larry, once again, been cooperative with investigators, turned over his cell phone for detectives to search through. Larry told Fox 5 he thought his wife may have left last Friday to have some alone time. Initially, that's what I thought, but as the days go by, it's very unlikely that that's it because she wouldn't be gone this long. I'm still very hopeful that with all this media coverage, she'll turn up and say, hey, I'm okay. And if Maya is safe somewhere watching the media coverage, Larry says, I love you, honey. Just come back home. We have the search efforts going and the family already putting together a vigil as well. Loved ones held a vigil for Maya Millete at Mount St. Miguel Park, just up the street from her home in East Chula Vista, where she was last seen. News 8 spoke to Mr. Millete on the phone after the vigil. He spoke about his wife of 21 years in the present and doesn't know why she would go missing. I don't want to speculate, and there's a lot of speculation, he said. Family and friends held the vigil for Maya, but Larry didn't go because he says he's a private person, but he saw the crowd when he picked up his 11-year-old daughter from the vigil at the park. Just with each instance, I'm kind of getting a little more concerned. There's something about this where, your 11-year-old daughter is going to an event that is effectively for her, not effective. It's for her missing mother. You don't think that's going to be an emotional or kind of traumatic moment for that 11-year-old? And admittedly, I know she's got other family members there and stuff, but I don't know. It's getting tough to understand from where I'm sitting. When I got to see a little bit of it and I was overwhelmed with all the support, he said. It's been a nightmare, painfully heartbreaking, said her sister, Mary Chris. She says Maya's children were the last ones to see her. Once again, I wish we had a better timeline. I don't even know what time she really seems to go missing. We've got this kind of, her husband thinks he hears her on Friday. The brother knocks on the door, hears something in there, thinks that it might be her. Could it be something else in the room that's making noise that he's assuming is her? I don't know. But, for missing persons cases, it's always very important to pinpoint when did they actually go missing? Because if you're going to the neighbors and you're asking for footage, are you going to say, hey, can I have footage for the whole week and then have to have someone process all that? It's a lot stronger to say, well, we know where she was 7 p.m. on Thursday, but we don't know where she was right after that. So from there forward, can we get that footage? So it's interesting to me that it seems like her children in this statement were the last ones to see her. We're going to see a statement later where law enforcement, they think Larry's the last one to see her. But let's continue with the details here. She is always on her phone, but her phone was off all day Friday, said her sister. Police say that they've searched the home twice and have not found evidence of a crime. Once again, these probably would not be like very strong forensic searches. These would be just general looking around, checking each room, possibly looking in opening closet doors and things like that. Maya's family says she loved the outdoors and hiking and adored her children. Despite being active outdoors and online, police say there's no digital footprint since her disappearance. Oh, goodness. 10news.com with some more information. 2 weeks later, the family hires a private investigator. I've been speaking to some people ever since the documentary came out. I've got people that are kind of asking me for advice on cases that they're personally attached to. And in cases where you're worried about something happening within a home, kind of like this one, I don't know that I understand the benefit of a private investigator. Is there some things that they would be able to investigate that might shake out some details of this? Possibly, like if they would tap into the social circle of a potential person of interest or something like that, and hopefully get some piece of information that person leaked on accident or said in front of someone or something like that. But that probability seems fairly low. If we are looking at a situation where she did take a walk and something happened after that, would a private investigator be able to help with that? Search efforts, absolutely. Private investigator, once again, it's not a very strong striking point. And I know private investigators, that could be a significant amount of money for hiring a PI. So I've always kind of wondered about that. Actually, now that I think about it, I'm going to have to ask some of my friends that are private investigators about that aspect. I suppose, if they go looking for information about what was going on in the relationship, and then all of a sudden they're finding, there's this other person that was involved with one of them, there might be some benefit to that in a situation like this. But I'm telling you, my mind is blown at all the steps that they're taking. I feel like they're doing absolutely everything that they can. Her family and friends are now asking the community to join them in a daily prayer chain at 5:01 p.m. every evening until she's found. The time represents Maya's birthday, May 1st. I believe that prayer chain is actually still happening. And if you want to be a part of that, there's a link to the Facebook group down below. You can join that and become a part of that as well. NBCSanDiego.com. Search warrant served at home of missing Chula Vista mom. Looks like the suspicions, even with the 2 walkthroughs, weren't enough at the home. They've now served a search warrant, and this is as of January 24th, 2021. The goal of the warrant was to obtain any evidence and clues to her current whereabouts. The Chula Vista PD's focus will continue to be locating May safe and in good health, they said in a statement. Police say the Millete family has been and continues to be cooperative, and the investigation is ongoing. So at this point, I'm assuming that they're including Larry in that statement. They're saying everyone's still being cooperative, but they had to issue a search warrant. They needed to search things in a different way in that house. At this point, we know we're talking forensic analysis, and we're going to get just a little bit of a hint of what's going on here. Neighbors told Fox 5 the search lasted hours into the early morning Sunday. They reported seeing canines. Obviously a great call if you think something happened in that house. And photos showed several white vans outside the home. I'm sure that was likely for crime scene investigation. Her sister, Mary Cruz, said Sunday that detectives told her they're working on something, but it's unclear what. Quote, "It's a little bit, a lift, a burden from our shoulders." And if you see her interviewed, that's why I wanted to start with a clip of her speaking on this video. You can see that weight on her shoulders. She's carrying a lot trying to figure out what happened to her sister. Over at another article, 10news.com, police used canines and forensic lights to search the home. Sounds like they might be forensic lights. The only kind of system I know that really does that is kind of the luminol tests, where they're looking for blood that might have been cleaned up. And that's according to what the family says. The family also says authorities searched the home for nearly 7 hours. There were search dogs in the house. They were searching the yard and the garage. They searched everything, said her sister. I'm telling you, it's like this couple in particular just never rests. And I hope that they get to a little bit of a tempo with this effort. I know that they're really close in this first month to the actual disappearance. They're trying to do everything they can to find her as quickly as possible. But if this thing goes much longer, I'm really concerned for their well-being as all, because they're doing a lot in a very short period of time. But here at January 30th, Maya's sister and her sister's husband organized another volunteer search party. They're meeting back at the park. They're combing through the Proctor Valley area. They supplied posters with Maya's face and information on it for volunteers to put up as they searched. Her sister said that the police have not been able to give them updates on the investigation, so they're continuing to hold these searches. And they're also recognizing it's kind of a double effort. Yes, it's a search, but also by having an event like that, they're reminding the community that she's still missing and helping to raise exposure at the same time. Man, I feel terrible for this family. In looking at these missing persons cases over the years, it always breaks my heart when you see the pattern that inevitably starts for each one of these families. And that's as soon as a body is found that is anywhere close to a location, if you have a missing loved one, you're wondering, is that them? And that pattern starts in this case also fairly quickly. Here, back to another article at 10news.com. Human remains found along hiking trail in Santee. And of course, if you're considering this aspect of her personality, that maybe she went out for a hike, very concerning if you're a family member. Sheriff's Homicide Lieutenant Tom Seaver said the department had received numerous inquiries as to whether the case was related to the Chula Vista missing persons case involving Maya Millete. Lieutenant Seaver said the department has no indications the remains are related to the active Chula Vista Police Department missing person case. And then Chula Vista PD basically confirmed that to ABC 10 News. They don't think that these cases are related. I've seen several other statements and articles since this. They're just supporting that same information over and over. So it's not like there's been some type of forensic information, at least up to the point of me recording this, that has reversed this position on this particular discovery. Husband of missing Chula Vista mom retains lawyer, police say. And here we hear he's no longer cooperating with police. February 4th, 2021. Millete's husband, Larry, is no longer fielding questions or requests from police, said Chula Vista Police Lieutenant Miriam Fox. ABC 10 News was able to reach Larry on Wednesday night. He told ABC 10 News that he retained an attorney based on the advice from family and is grateful for the investigators' efforts and the community to help find Millete, adding that he would like the focus to remain on finding her. Her sister, Mary Chris, also spoke with ABC 10 News. She says that the police department called her family Wednesday requesting to meet with them. And during that meeting, they were told that Larry had hired an attorney. Mary Chris said that the family was surprised and hurt by the news. The family says that they still have many unanswered questions, but their focus is still on finding her sister as well. So this is another one of those strange ones for me, because there's a lot of people, if you know that you're being investigated like this, I mean, put yourself in those shoes. Assuming that you're innocent, you know that you're going to be investigated in that way. You've let them into the house twice. You've given them your cell phone. They come back with a warrant. They're going through the house again. I think most people at that point would say, you know what, I probably have to have an attorney. And I think most attorneys at that point are going to say, stop cooperating, stop talking. You can't be part of this anymore. Just as a matter of self-protection legally. So while I do keep feeling like I had this line in terms of suspicion, and it keeps getting knocked back as we're getting these details and he's taking these steps, I still am really trying to hold on to the possibility that this could be normal. You know, we don't know his personality. We don't know what type of person he is. Her family would probably have a better understanding of it. I mean, was he really a private type of person? Would he go to a family event and, you know, kind of sit in a corner and not really interact with anyone? They would know those levels of his personality. And us as public looking into this, trying to help, trying to raise exposure, we don't have that insight. So it's one of those things. Yes, my suspicion meter totally pegged. I get that. but we also have to stay open. I'm telling you, we've been down this road before, and it doesn't always end up being what we think. Interesting that despite that happening, we have another comment here. Police say that there are still no suspects or persons of interest in her disappearance. If one of us was missing, I know May would be out there looking for us, said her brother-in-law, Richard. He says that they would like to see more communication from police. So here we are, and literally almost like clockwork, guys. I don't know how many times I've said this on the channel before. You get to the 1 month mark, and all of a sudden the family starts feeling like they're not getting enough attention because the investigation is shifting gears. Things are winding down a little bit. Contacts start slowing down. That's exactly what's happening in this case as well. Quote, "It would be a relief from the family if we heard from police a little more often instead of every other day or 2-3 days." It's a normal thing. It's just a really hard side effect. They're getting so much attention in such a confined period of time, and then that just, it slows out, and it does peter out. And because of that, sometimes you have to take other steps to get the attention you need. And that rally that we watched at the start of this, I believe it's steps that they took that helped that press conference. It was a rally / press conference actually happen. Police say Millete's husband, Larry, is their most important witness because he's the last person who saw her. So that's what I was pointing out earlier. The sister thought it was the children that were the last ones to see her. Police, seems like they're pretty convinced it's Larry. "We feel so helpless and also so desperate for answers," says Mary Chris. "It's tough because he's our family," she said. She also added that Larry has been distancing himself and his children from Maya's side of the family in recent weeks. "We can't imagine him doing anything to our sister. If she could speak to Larry, she would ask him to help the rest of the family find Maya. Quote, show that you do care for my sister. Show that you do love her. That's all I'm asking." And it really doesn't seem like that's too much. A peaceful rally to find Maya is planned for Friday. Here we go. I mean, I think it is every week that they're doing something. And that peaceful rally outside of Chula Vista Police Headquarters. I think because it's publicized in this way, the police decide that they're going to have a press conference attached to that rally. And that's how it turns into that. Honestly, it's kind of one of the more positive ways that I've seen for handling something like that. Reminds me a little bit about a case that we covered a few months ago too, where there was a mother looking very strongly for her son, and she decided that she was going to have to raise some noise to get the attention that she was looking for as well. Seems to be a good mechanism. I'm glad that I'm seeing people use it, but the outcome for this one in particular, just positive on all fronts. How can that not be great? To raise it to the community, once again, get the cameras out there, but also help improve the connectivity between the family and the police department by having them kind of do this thing together. Yeah, we're going to go and have a rally. We're going to carry some signs. We're going to walk around the police station. Then the police are going to come out and we're going to talk about this case. It's just a great way to handle it. Over at CBS 8, we get an update on what happened there. During a news conference at Chula Vista Police Department headquarters late this morning, CVPD Chief Roxana Kennedy said her department's investigators were doing everything they possibly can to come up with answers right now about Maya's disappearance. And there's one moment in particular at the start of the press conference where the chief gets fairly emotional as well. You can see that they're taking this extremely seriously. And I want you to know that my entire crimes of violence team has been working around the clock on this case from day one. No rock is being left unturned. That's really interesting to hear as well, because, you know, the original word that was kind of coming out from the police is we're treating this as a missing person. We're treating this as a missing persons. She's being pretty clear. She's also had the rest of her team looking at this case, specifically for crimes of violence team. That's telling me that consideration that I know all of you are sitting out there with right now has been being evaluated this whole time. On January 23rd, detectives served a search warrant on the home. During the search, computers were taken from the home as evidence. Officers also impounded the Lexus SUV. So vehicle taken, computers taken. We know that they had dogs out. We know that they were using some type of light, likely looking for biological matter. This was a full-on press that they did in that house. Millete's husband, Larry, nor any of the children were present at the rally. Can't say it's surprising for him to not be there at this point. Lieutenant Fox says, as of now, they still have no official persons of interest. They don't have a suspect. They're still actively working the case. They're being extremely careful with this case. It's obvious. Investigators say they've scoured through hundreds of hours of video and are looking into all the evidence collected during a search warrant. I'm really hopeful that that's a little bit of an indicator that maybe that video review, they're seeing some big value in that. If there is something that happened in the house and then there was transportation used to move her in some way, is it that they've got some neighbor cams or some local business cameras that they're going through to try to piece together a path or a trail and figure that out? That's something I'm certainly hoping for if we are looking at that type of situation in this case. Now, if you guys are anything like me, I'm wondering, what type of argument was this? Like, how hot was this fight? Was it something silly? Was it something major? I know they've been having trouble for a while, but if we are looking at some type of situation that happened in the house, was this a real steep argument? Was it a very invested argument? We've got some details. Daily Mail reported that Millete has been arguing with her husband during a family camping trip in the desert just days before her disappearance, according to her sister, Mary Chris, and her sister's husband, Richard. They said that Larry and Maya, or May, had been arguing over a Jeep Wrangler that they had brought with them on the family camping trip to the Glamis sand dunes over the New Year holiday. So this is that trip I mentioned early in the video that was with the other family members. Quote, for a year or two, it has been kind of a rocky relationship, she said of her sister's marriage with Larry. They even tried marriage counseling. When we do have a get together, they would be there arguing. And then another time they would be close again. Like, oh, okay, they worked it out. So it had been like that for the last year. Richard added, they argued a lot and it was a little bit uncomfortable. It was weird because Larry was acting different. He wasn't acting like Larry. He was acting different. They were done. The relationship was done. You could just tell. He was always quiet, but on this last trip, he was having a lot of fun, but with her vehicle. During the day, he wasn't really at the camp. He was always driving around, and then he would come and ask her a question, and they would argue. Not argue in front of the family, but you could tell that there was no communication between them, no positive communication between them. So both Richard and Mary Chris noted that Larry had been having a lot of fun with the Jeep Wrangler, which had been purchased by May. He was having more fun than my sister, considering that it was my sister's Jeep, Mary Chris said. He wanted to take the Jeep and he wanted to drive it, and my sister wanted to drive it. So they had been arguing about that. Richard added, you would think that they would have ridden together, but that never happened. The relationship was done. She wanted to get out of the relationship. She was having a good time, but I know that in the back of her mind, she just wanted her Jeep. She was becoming a different person and starting a new chapter. So from his perspective, they weren't the couple that they used to be together anymore. They both started showing different sides of their personality, and he was pretty convinced the relationship was done. Since hiring a lawyer, Larry has only let Mary Chris and members of her family see the 3 children once. I mean, situations like this are always tough, but that is a heartbreaking aspect when family gets held back from seeing each other like that. Larry has not been, again, responding to our text messages or answering our phone calls, Mary Chris said. So we got worried. Me and my sister-in-law went to go check on the kids Monday and make sure that they were okay. So sounds like they literally stopped by. The area where they were, the Glamis sand dunes, is about, it's noted here, it's about 150 miles east of San Diego. So, regular kind of drive time, you're probably looking at, 2.5 to 3 hours to get out there, and then 2.5 to 3 hours to get back. Body recovered from the water at Lake Murray. We have another occurrence of a body found locally. Thankfully, we once again get the same conclusion. CVPD officials said that they were informed by San Diego police that the body was a woman, but her race did not match that of Maya Millete. Now, back at CBS 8, we get something that makes me extremely concerned about the possibilities. We were already hearing it a little bit from Richard in the last one. He keeps saying their relationship was done. It was done. It was done. Millete was last seen by her husband, Larry, after the couple argued on Thursday, January 7th. Do I think that January 7th they're still arguing about the Jeep? I don't think so. And this is actually going to support that. Family members confirmed Millete had set up an appointment with a divorce attorney for the Tuesday after she went missing. Larry Millete still has custody of the couple's 3 young children. So could that have come up in the conversation? Could that potentially be a trigger for something to have happened in that home? I think there is a good chance of it. It's hard to know. It's hard to know for sure if that came up. He might have never known about that. But kind of interesting that the family members did know. And if they were fighting about anything, would that be something that potentially she might have brought up? Maybe it was just the straw that broke the camel's back and she was going to let him know, you know what, I've got an appointment with the divorce attorney, and was at an escalation point. Quote, "It's been frustrating. There are no leads. There's nothing to really report on. It's still very heartbreaking not knowing what happened to my sister," Maricris said. News 8 reached out via text message to Larry. He responded, "I prefer to not do any interviews. I would like to thank you and your network for your continued support and concern. Also, I'd like to thank all the volunteers." And the search efforts continue. Family search for missing South Bay mom shifts miles away from San Diego. Where do you think they went to? They are checking out those sand dunes, 150 miles east of San Diego. Quote, "We might have been given a little hint that she might have been out there the day she went missing on the 7th, explained Richard. I don't know what the little hint is. I'm wondering if there is maybe like a GPS system that's part of one of the vehicles, or I don't know. I'm not positive, but kind of interesting to me because, you know, searching at the local park, very logical, makes a lot of sense. Searching at a place where they went to vacation the previous week, maybe it's not so out there, particularly if we consider that, you know, Larry's driving around out there. Is that maybe some type of planning phase potentially, or something like that? Or he's making considerations? I don't know. So maybe not completely out there, and certainly worth a try. And if nothing else, it seems like it's, you know, it's sand dunes. I'm sure there's a lot of recreational use out there, and a lot of the people that would go out there probably live around the San Diego area. So in terms of raising exposure, once again, just I think it's another good step. The last time Maya's sister and brother-in-law saw her was at the Glamis Sand Dunes on New Year's Eve. This is a quote from her sister. "If she's out there camping, I don't know what I'll do to her, but obviously I'll give her a hug." But as time drags on, the family says that they're preparing for the worst case scenario. Big crowds are expected out at the sand dunes for President's Day weekend, and they're hopeful some of those people may be curious and lend a hand in the search. Hint, hint, boy, do they. They say they plan to search the area near the Sand Highway. It's just a very secluded area. I hate to say it, but if you're trying to hide evidence or whatever, it would probably be one of the better spots to hide something. So what happened with the search? Tired and exhausted, the family of Maya Millete was surprised to get a little assistance from above. Michael Marnelli Jr. of Glamis Dunes and Storage offered to sponsor the family to get a free ride in a helicopter to help with the search. Guys, it grabs me when I hear about people doing things like this. Michael, that's amazing. "This is probably the first time I've been involved in looking for a person," said Derek Bilkey, owner of Optic Helicopters, who gave the family the ride. "In 2 hours, we covered about a week's worth of ground. This is an off-road community here, and anyone in this industry treats each other like family." Unfortunately, the search yielded little results. There were a few things that caught their eye from above. The family dropped GPS pins on their phones, and locals have offered to go back during the week and take a closer look at those spots. Quote, "I was glad to help out, but at the same time, I was hoping for better," Bilkey said. "I do fly around here a lot, though, so I'll always be looking." Even with the effort not panning out, I think it's so cool that Michael got together the funds to do that Derek is willing to help in that way, and that he's going to keep searching even while he's doing other tours out there. I think that's amazing. May's sister says she's desperate for answers. Even harder, she says, is not knowing what to tell the children. Her 4-year-old, he's been asking, when is mom coming home? She's an amazing mom. She sings to them. She loves singing. She loves the guitar. They love the outdoors. Mary Chris also said, we just want to keep on searching and searching. We don't want any stones unturned. It's one of those, it's a shooting in the sky type of thing, she says. We always say we can move mountains and we believe in miracles. I can tell you, they've already moved a mountain. I can't believe all of the efforts that they've got going on here. Anonymous Radford grad, that's a high school that she went to, matches donations. So we've got someone else stepping up in a very big way for this case. Basically, they started a GoFundMe, and an anonymous graduate of her high school said, you know what, as much money as comes in there, I'm going to match it. I think he had it matched to a certain point, but I don't know if that changed because I've seen it kind of reported a couple of different ways. So yes, there is a GoFundMe, and yes, on behalf of myself and my amazing supporters, guys, thank you so much for helping me do things like this. We're absolutely going to make a donation to help find Maya Millete just as soon as I'm done filming here today. And I'm going to have a link to that down below. If you guys want to make additional donations, please do. If you just want to share the link, please do. Let's do everything we can to help this family. You've heard of their efforts. They need support. They need help. They need to make sure that they don't have to worry about, hey, we can't afford to do this, we can't afford to do that. So please join me in terms of supporting them. And once again, a big thank you to all my supporters that helped me do that. In the links down below, you will also find the Facebook page, Help Find May. There is a lot of great information that's going on here. The daily prayer information is here, new search efforts, and I guarantee you, there's more coming. They're not going to stop until she's found. A very well done page, very well put together, and if it doesn't grab your heart, just taking a look at this page, it will. Just give it a moment, take a look, see what you can do to help this family as well. That is it for today's episode. Before we end, I want to thank several patrons. Thank you, Catherine Pear, who's not only a patron, but also moderates the Brain Scratchers fan site on Facebook. Really appreciate your support, Catherine, and your help. Thank you, Britzkrieg, Christina Arvai, Brandy Bradford, and Kim. Also a big thank you to Heather Chandler, for increasing her pledge. If you would like to join them and help support the channel, please visit lordandarts.com, where you can sign up for Patreon, sign up for PayPal, or buy merchandise. All of it helps keep me here trying to help these families and making donations like we are today in this case. As always, I ask that we remain respectful in the comments down below. Very good chance at some point that one of the family members, maybe even Maya's children, could see what you're writing down there. So let's please be sensitive to that. I know a lot of us are thinking about Larry and his potential involvement. It's okay for us to theorize, but that's where we've got to end it. What we're looking for is raising the exposure. And for the person out there that has the information, if you're that person, please pick up the phone. The contact numbers are in the description box below. You saw the one that was on the screen this whole time. If for some reason you need to remain anonymous, we've got a Crime Stoppers number down there as well. Help this family so they can at least get some rest. I'm very concerned. And if there are any of the family members that happen to see this, if there's anything that I can do, please reach out to me directly. If there's information I need to clarify, if you've got new search efforts that you want help in terms of promoting, email me, john@lordandarts.com. I'll do everything I can to help you guys. Thank you guys so much. Hope you have a great day, wonderful weekend. I'll see you back here on Monday with a brand new episode of Case Cracked on the Lord and Arts channel.